The mokihi has arrived, but the first reaction to it has hardly been favourable.
Where's the boat?
The park rangers give me an even chance of getting at least halfway across the lake on it.
There's lots of little gaps. Oh, it's full of air cells, isn't it? See how they're blocked off? Each one's individual.
It seems a very long time ago that I asked Tim Tamahiroa to build this mokihi. I became fascinated in seeing him building another canoe of reeds back over on the east coast and asked him to construct one that could take me across Lake Te Anau. I take great heart from knowing that mokihis were once used successfully and often by the southern Maoris and only lost favour to European wooden boats. But it's probably over 100 years since one has sailed on this lake.
I never actually thought it'd get to this. I thought it was just some story I made up, but here I am, I'm ready to go. With the trappings of modernity too, a good life jacket and a double-ended paddle. I don't think they've ever been used on a mokihi before. Oh well, this is it. Well, it floats, but I'm no canoeist and I don't like the look of that white water out there. But in the movies, this is where the hero sets his jaw and off he goes.
As the water was exceedingly cold, I was relieved that it floated. In fact, it floated a bit too well at first. It was like riding a cork until the ends of the reeds took in some water. But the wind had whipped up whitecaps beyond the bay, and it was reassuring to have the Fiordland park boat as escort. There are stories of huge boats, 5, even 10 metres long, craft big enough to dwarf my support boat. It became hard to know if I was paddling forward or being blown back. I'm grateful for the encouragement of Gilly Adams and tramping companion Brian Malloy.
Well, you look to be doing pretty well to me.
It's fairly unstable to start off with, but once it took a bit of water on, it stabilised a lot. In fact, it's a bit more stable than your boat.
Ian Ferguson would be proud of you, I'm sure.
The 5-kilometre journey took 2.5 hours, and I hereby claim it as a record.
Oh. Well, it's a most worthy craft.
Richard Henry, the boat, has brought us to the farthest point west we can travel on the lake. The rocks have changed from jagged hills of sandstone raised up from the seabed to the ice-worn and ancient hills of hard gneiss and granite. After leaving one Richard Henry, we followed the footsteps of the other, who was the first European to map the route to the coast.
And around here, it's up and down a little bit around here. But it's pretty flat then right through from the hut even up until there. You climb a
We were welcomed by another old resident, Tenamu, the black fly.
They'll get used to you.
It's said that the goddess of death brought these little torturers here to stop people wanting to live in this beautiful place. These females have a reputation of being the most savage biters in the black fly world, and they certainly got us moving. I was keen to hear Brian Malloy's first reaction to the forest. He's a botanist more at home among the tussocks of Canterbury than the beech trees of Fiordland.
good, isn't it? Yes. My first impression is, you know, one of wetness, large number of ground firs. The whole ground is virtually covered with vegetation, particularly the ferns. I'm intrigued to see this hard fern here. It's a fairly common one, but I've never seen quite so big, broad and thick, wide in the leaves, as it seems to be here.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have had to walk the low hill to Hankinson if a retreating glacier hadn't paused there and dumped a moraine blocking the fjord.
Oh well, look after my boat. I'll look after yours.
Thanks.
This will probably be a wee bit quicker than the last trip, I think.
Maori's new 2-kilometre long Lake Hankinson is hapopo kakapo, thronging with ground parrots, a sight no one will ever see again. The valley walls of Hankinson became steeper and more confining. The most obvious result of this are scars left by forest that slipped off the walls and down into the lake.
There's certainly a lot of these slips around.
In this country, it certainly is. It doesn't surprise me, really. I mean, when you look up the valley here and see how steep these slopes are, the vegetation's literally hanging by its feet or its teeth. The soils are very shallow, and under this high rainfall that you get up here, I suppose it's natural that this vegetation gets so top-heavy that sooner or later it's got to go. And it just slides down into the lake here. You notice how they, when they slip off this vegetation, it takes all the soil and a bit of the rock with it, leaves a clean face up high, what people call the slip face, and a great mound of debris down below. Vegetation, soil, rocks, litter, whatever.
Plants like fern and wineberry had begun patch-up jobs on the debris of recent slips. Inviting a keen botanist like Brian Malloy to an area that's new to him has been most enjoyable. And I'm more than happy to just listen to his stories of the beech forest, which, after all, are much more part of New Zealand than All Blacks and inflation will ever be.
No, 1.4. Like I said, it's just about 1.5 metres. Yeah. 1.46 to be exact. They can be quite deceiving.
The rocks of Fiordland are so hard they don't weather quickly, and valleys retain the shape of the glaciers that formed them. Many waterfalls cascade from concealed lakes also formed by the glacier. A glacial cirque lake lies in a steep-sided crucible of rock, and on the shore, where a little avalanche makes a jumble of rocks, is the unlikely home of one of our smallest birds. Just how these tiny rock wrens spend their lives under the snow for half their year is a mystery. Rock wrens developed separately in high retreats isolated by glaciers, the agents of profound change in this awesome southern landscape.